to talk about.
Let me talk to you.
Yeah!
Throwdown Nation, what is going on? We are live on a Tuesday night. It is June 2nd, 2026. We are rolling on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter/X, Facebook, and Twitch. It is episode 234 of The Throwdown, the community on the web where we celebrate the art and sport of professional wrestling with a strong focus on the indies. I'm your host, Matt, and today we are going to Appalachia, a fascinating region of the country, a place full of legends, stories, and even conspiracies. Today, we have with us a guy based right in the middle of it in the great state of West Virginia. Welcome with me, the DarkChild, or sometimes known as the Battle Axe for Jesus, Mr. Chance Prophet. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great. I've definitely been looking forward to this one.
It's a pleasure.
So, well, thank you. And for those of you that are watching this live, let me direct your attention to the ticker that's running on the bottom of the screen. That contains all or at least most of Chance's social media accounts along with mine. So do us a favor, if you aren't a follower or subscriber, take the time and go to each of the platforms and do so. It definitely helps both of us. And any questions or comments, just throw them in the chat and we'll either handle them as we go or do a little Q&A at the end. So we'll go ahead and get started with the first and really the most obvious question, and that is, how long have you been wrestling?
27 years. This coming May will make 28. So I broke in 99.
Nice. So yeah, you've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah, a little bit.
So who actually initially trained you?
My initial trainer was adorable Danny Ray Nelson. He's from the place I actually grew up in Logan, West Virginia.
Okay. So in the early stages of your wrestling training, what would you say was the most challenging aspect of professional wrestling for you to kind of wrap your mind and body around?
Learning to slow down the thinking process versus the speed, because when you come out of an athletics background, I was a baseball player, short sprints, short bursts, and having to slow down and think methodically and not just think about the moves, but think about the crowd.
Yeah. Yep. So I was going to ask if you had come to wrestling with a previous athletic or other type of martial arts background. So it sounds like you were a baseball player, you said?
Yeah, I was a baseball player and an amateur wrestler in high school.
Gotcha.
That's what actually led me into pro wrestling.
So what positions did you play in baseball?
Primarily, I was a third baseman, but like every now and then I would pitch and play third, or play left, and catch. I was kind of a utility guy.
Gotcha. So I'm presuming you've been at least a fan of professional wrestling the majority of your life. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, my grandpa, my papa, as we called him, he got me introduced to pro wrestling at the age of 6, and I was hooked ever since.
What would you say is your earliest wrestling-related memory?
It would have to be the Big Blue Cage, and I think it was Hogan and Bad News Brown. And it was a Saturday night's main event, and I was just enthralled. And then my papa was like, you wait till we watch some real wrestling. And I'm like, what do you mean real wrestling? Because it was all real to me. But then he turned me on to NWA, and I was just like, oh my gosh, they're scrapping. This is great.
Yeah. I've been a fan myself since I was around 11, and I'll be 57 in September. So I've been following the business for about 40 years, 40 plus now. And It's been really a cool run because I kind of grew up back in the territory days, and I've gotten to see a lot of significant moments in modern wrestling history as they happened, rather than retrospectively. So it's been really cool. So I mean, I got started as a kid in Florida watching the old Florida Championship Wrestling with Gordon Soley doing commentary. And the first feud that I remember being invested in was Dusty Rhodes and Kevin Sullivan. And man, when you're 11 years old, Kevin Sullivan was a scary guy.
You're older, he was still a scary guy.
Yeah. Yeah, in many ways, I feel like he was kind of the precursor for characters like The Undertaker or Bray Wyatt. The scary, supernatural, edgy type of character. He really kind of paved the way for a lot of that.
Definitely, he pushed the edge. Like he crossed every line that was appropriate to keep the draw. But man, he was not just a great wrestler, but he drew everybody into it.
Absolutely. So, what was the first live show you ever went to as a fan?
It was supposed to be an NWA show. They were
Hmm.
doing a loop from Charlotte up through Appalachia, and they actually did a show in my home territory in Logan, and they had advertised the Fabulous Freebirds and the Fantastics, and I think Ron was actually going to be there, but Hands of Stone was there, but Jimmy wasn't. And they ended up pulling that whole match other than the Fantastics. And I can't remember who it was they threw it in there, but it was so in my face. And the guy that trained me, he was actually reffing that show. He was, as he progressed from, I think, the age of 15, he started reffing and then moved on into wrestling. But that was in my hometown, and I thought it was amazing.
Gotcha. So, I was looking, and it appears that it's kind of on hiatus right now. But give us the story of Power Slam Academy and how you ended up doing, I guess, training the next generation. How did that all come about?
Well, so when I broke in, I trained under Danny Ray, and then as I got older, I I went and trained under Jesse Hernandez out in San Bernardino, California, and we trained with a lot of luchadors, and it just stretched my mind and stretched like it was opportunities that we didn't have back home. So I would always try to help people out, like tell them like if we do it this way, you'll have more longevity, you'll have less injuries, and so the opportunity presented itself with my friend Mike Tawney, who ran IWA East Coast, and man, he just said, "Why don't we just open a school?" He's like, "You just run with it. I'll let you use the ring, and I know a place that'll be a decent rented space." And we started in 2019. I've had a lot of good guys and girls come out of it. Troy Parker, Micah, um, Tyler Rossfeld. There's a lot of guys that are just making their names right now, but Troy is making like extreme headway. Him and Corey Sparks. A lot of good people have come out of it, and it was a time that I was dealing with an ACL PCL replacement and had a guy that broke in under the same trainer come and help me with that. It up until this past January, we were in operation. And I kind of just took a break.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, during the time that you were actively functioning as a trainer, what would you say was your proudest moment as a trainer?
The proudest moment would probably be when Troy Parker got booked for his first CZW match, and then became a regular there. He's one of the standout guys up there. So I was just finally seeing that someone from our area could really make it in a region that primarily people from Appalachia don't work in. So that was probably the crowning achievement so far.
Gotcha. Well, based on when you made your way into the business, I'm probably a few years older than you are, but we're kind of somewhat contemporaries age wise.
Hmm.
I know that the physical side of this is all extremely important, but tell us a bit at this point in your career, what is your gym routine like? And in your mind, what at this point, what do you feel are the most crucial exercise or group of exercises for you to keep in ring shape with?
And when I broke it was a completely different era. Everybody was thinking body guy, body guy, body guy. And as I
Right.
progressed and started dealing with injuries, I was like, I have to figure out how to handle some functional training and not worry about PRs. So I got really into kettlebell training and core training. Um, if it's functional, I do it. I pursue a lot of uh, a lot of different routines, but I do one by a guy named I can't remember what his name is. I could look it up real quick, but it's a savage training protocol, and um, it just helps me to keep the rust off because it's really easy if I take a day and just rest. It's brutal. 28 years plus the athletics I pursued before that. Everything hurts, but I love it. Wouldn't trade it.
No doubt, no doubt. So, away from wrestling, what are some of your other hobbies and interests? What do you like to do with whatever spare time you might have?
Well, I have 4 kids, so spare time is really not there.
Yeah.
I've got a great wife. I've got a great church. I pastor there. I'm the young adult pastor there. So that consumes a lot of my time, but I wouldn't trade it for anything as far as like devoting my time there. I'm a graphic designer by trade as well. I went to school, got my master's through Full Sail, and I have clients regularly. But church, graphics, and pro wrestling outside of after the family life, that's pretty much what I have.
Gotcha. So, how old are your kids?
I have a 15-year-old, an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Nice spread.
Yeah, I'll give credit to my wife for that.
Yeah, yeah. I've got an almost 17-year-old son. He's going to be going into his senior year in high school this fall, and it's as you know, it's crazy how quickly the time goes.
Yeah, real quick, too
Yep,
quick.
yep. So, yeah, he's we're in the process of trying to make decisions about college and everything, and it's just it's an interesting time for sure.
Definitely. My oldest is a sophomore. He's going into his sophomore year, and it's like I was like, man, I just blinked and you were in ninth grade. Now it's going to be soon, and we're going to have to do the same thing you're doing right now.
I know, it's wild, but yeah, he's doing great. His grades are outstanding. He's a lacrosse player. So and at this point he's thinking pre med.
That's good.
So
That's
yeah,
really good.
for sure. So outside of wrestling, what person inspires you the most and why?
The easy answer is Jesus, because he lived a sacrificial life that was merely meant to bring others closer to God. Most inspirational would probably be my mom. She held it together even through the worst of times. My dad was a coal miner. I had a lot of really good inspirational figures. He taught me a good work ethic and taught me to value family. Even when you can't be there, you make your presence known as much as possible. Um, had a lot of great people in my life, but my pastor, Pastor Chuck Lawrence, he's a great man of God, but he's just a great man indeed. Um, yeah, that's a lot of people.
It is. So, one of the things that I was really excited about, talking to you a little bit before we did this show, is the fact that you're also a believer. And I love having wrestlers on the show that are also Christians, because especially these last couple of years, I feel like there is a spiritual revival taking place within the wrestling industry. I'm seeing a lot of wrestlers either coming to Christ or being more vocal about their existing beliefs. For instance, Nathan Frazier. He has two separate Instagrams, one for his wrestling stuff, and the other is predominantly just stuff about his beliefs and everything. So I mean, he's really doing some amazing work, and it seems like Brian Cage has had a bit of a encounter with Christ himself recently. He's been putting a lot of stuff out there. So tell us a bit about your your faith journey. Were you raised in a Christian home, and or did all of that come about later?
Yeah, I probably was in church before I was like actually born. My mom and dad both raised my brother and I in a strong Christian family. We went to church every Wednesday, every Sunday, and I got saved at the age of 12 and started pursuing not just going to church but ministry. I had a great pastor growing up, John Godby, who frequently took us out with him to learn how to talk to people and not just give them a tract and walk away, and not just say God bless you, here's some money, just actually to try to do what Jesus did and make a relationship with the people that you encounter. Growing up, I fell away from the faith, not from God, but I fell away, slipped up, and decided that I wasn't going to bring Jesus's name into the trash that I was doing. And surprisingly, none of that ever had to do with wrestling. When it came to wrestling, it was pretty straightforward, all business. But outside of wrestling, I just got away from him, and I thought it would be better to not drag Jesus into it. But every time I would be doing something I shouldn't particularly be doing, Jesus got brought up. And if it wasn't Jesus being brought up, it was, hey, didn't you go to this church? What are you doing here? And eventually God just kept drawing me. And in college, I came back to him and then devoted my life full time into ministry. Got called to be a pastor, started pastoring alongside a couple other people with small groups. And then they offered me a position as the young adult pastor at Christ Temple Church in Huntington, West Virginia. And it's my faith is what keeps me going, and the opportunity to share it with people, especially through the platform that we have with pro wrestling. Some people are like, "Oh, that's cheap. That's kind of subterfuge." I'm like, whatever gets the gospel out, that's all that matters.
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite thing about West Virginia?
The people. Times have changed, but the genuineness of each person. Sometimes it'll vary with generations, but for the most part, they're the most genuine and heartfelt people that will give their shirt off their back. They'll reach out to people in need, even if they're not in a particularly good financial place. It's all about community in West Virginia. So that's the big part about West Virginia that I love. The scenery is not too bad either.
Yeah. So, they say that the best wrestling personas are usually at least a part of yourself turned up to 11. So, kind of tell us about in-ring Chance Prophet and kind of compare and contrast him with everyday you. Tell us and sort of tell us how the persona has evolved over time.
Um, I am nothing like Chance Prophet in real life, so I'm the anomaly. Most of the time, you can tell I speak a little bit softer. Uh, Only when I have to correct children or anything like that do I rarely ever raise my voice. Um, uh, when I first started Chance Prophet, I just wanted to be a guy on the fringe, teetering between the darkness and the light, hence the dark child. I wanted it to be something that reflected my faith because I was a child of God, but I'm a little bit dark, a little bit creepy. And then it just kind of kept evolving from there. I went from talking to skulls, which I regret completely because it's goofy. Um, uh, I think everybody that has that whole crazy character goes through. I need to wear a straitjacket. That phase, but yeah, I just eventually landed in. I'm a real big comic book fan, um, and I kind of mold my image after some of the villains that I grew up loving as a kid, Venom and Joker, and it comes over in the appearance. But DarkSide was one of my big guys, and that's pretty much where we're at right now. I'm trying to be DarkSide and trying to figure out how to keep my thumb on everybody that I face, and eventually turn
Gotcha.
them to my side.
Gotcha. How long does it take you to do the face paint?
Most of the time, it's like about 30 minutes. If I get to talking with people in the back, it'll be about 45 minutes to an hour, but I can knock it out pretty easy now. I've got it down to science.
Gotcha. So tell us about your very first match. What was it like? How did it go? What were your thoughts? Uh, Tell us about the first one.
My first match, um, first professional match was a tag match as a fill-in. There was a couple of guys that no-showed a local promoter, and he found out that I was training with his nephews. He's like, "Hey, do you think you could fill in?" I'm like, "I know how to bump. I can probably do that." So I ended up getting in there, and the guys knew less than I did, and they'd been wrestling for a while. There was one guy that had maybe been wrestling for a year and a half, 2 years, and I ended up taking a clothesline over the top just because they said, "Hey, can you do this?" I'm like, "Sure." I ended up with like two injuries.
Famous last words, right?
Yeah, it's like around here we say, "Hey, y'all watch this." That's the famous last words,
Yeah.
and 100%.
Yep. So, we've heard about the first one. Now, if you can narrow it down, and it may be hard, but tell us about your favorite match that you've been a part of.
It would be probably with Dustin Runnels with Gold Dust, just because the
Yeah.
lead up we got to do promos back and forth. We'd never met, but his dad was actually the first name that I'd ever interacted with, and so it was really cool to get in there and work with him. The man is one of the fastest individuals I have ever been in the ring with, and he's just so crisp and so clean. It was just it was a great experience for me just to be in the ring with him, but the fans really enjoyed it as well.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, just the chance to be in there and work a match with somebody of that legendary status had to just be a complete thrill.
Yeah, and he's just a consummate professional, and he's just fun. Like we still talk every now and then now, and it's been about 13 years since we wrestled, so that's pretty cool.
Gotcha. So what do your family and friend circle think of all of this? I'm sure you've got some relatives that worry, and but sort of tell us, what your family and friends think.
It's kind of evolved ever since the ministry aspects that has gotten into it. They've all jumped on board. But when I first started, like my mom went to see me for the first time, and we were working an injury angle, and she thought that I was hurt, and she almost passed out. My dad heard about it, and he's like, "I'll never come watch you. If I see someone hurt you, I'll go after him with a baseball bat." And he probably would have. Um, my wife is the most supportive of it all. She's like, "I don't get it, but it's your passion, so I'm gonna buy in." And now with how we're doing, the main reason why we're doing the hiatus from Power Slam Academy is that Power Slam Pro shows have taken off, and we're doing monthly events, and it's starting to pick up. And they've just jumped on board, become part of staff. My wife's over sales, and she's given me input, which is better because she's more of the casual fan, and she
Hmm.
can give me, like, the common person that's not involved in this world, give me her perspective.
Yeah, having a supportive spouse is just so important. I mean, when I first started doing this show, which next month it'll actually be 2 years, but when I first started doing it, my wife was not a wrestling fan at all, and but she started watching the episodes that I was doing. And then, it got to the point where she was like, "I'm not a fan, but I understand now why you are." And over these last couple of years, she's actually started watching somewhat, still kind of a casual fan, but she has wrestlers she enjoys watching now. So, it's kind of cool to see all of that evolve.
My wife's got her favorites too, and it's mainly local indie wrestlers, which is cool. If I'm watching
Yeah.
WWE, she'll kind of tune out, but the local indie scene and seeing newer guys come up, she's like, "I really like that one. You should book them." I'm like, "Okay, I'll get right on
Yeah.
that."
Gotcha. So, you've been doing this long enough that I'm sure you've probably developed a number of these over the years. But what would you say is your biggest wrestling related pet peeve?
Deodorant and unwashed gear. It is the world's worst. When you're going, and Ricky Morton was one of the ones that, like, was first instilling hygiene towards us. Like, no one wants to be in a headlock with a drenched squirrel. So guys, please keep everything trimmed up to a proper level and keep yourself clean. Um, and the gear thing, you would think that it would fade away with the amount of that people can complain on social media now. No, no, people just don't wash their gear.
No, no. For several years ago, for a number of years, I trained in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And there was always the one guy at the dojo who wouldn't wash his gi, and you hated being the one that ended up having to roll with that guy because it was just awful.
Triangle choke and actually passing out before he locks it in. That's bad.
Yeah. So, over the years you've been doing this, what would you say has been the most unusual or memorable encounter with a fan that you've had?
I was bitten by a 7-year-old girl on my ankle, and when I was cutting a promo. I had no idea what was going on. I just felt a little pinch, and I was like, "What is that?" And I looked down, and this little spider monkey little girl was latched onto my boot, and I screamed. I screamed like a little girl, and her dad's like, "Yeah, I told her to do it. She'll do it again." I was like,
You gotta
"That,
love it.
oh yeah, it's still real around these parts."
Oh yeah, you know that there are areas where kayfabe is still definitely a thing.
Yeah, if you do it right, you can turn them into a frenzy.
Hmm. So you know, the trajectory of your career has definitely intersected with this. So how did you handle the pandemic career wise? How did you navigate all of that?
It was it if it could have happened at a better time, I don't know that it could have because that's when I discovered that my ACL and PCL were not even in existence. They've been destroyed when I was like in amateur wrestling. Um, and but we had just started the school. So it was like, what are we going to do? Like bookings aren't coming in. We can't go and train because we can't be in close quarters with everybody. But we just ended up shifting and doing like Zoom calls and doing character work uh, on Zoom calls. And the promos were hilarious, but it was just such a weird time.
No doubt. So do you have an all-time favorite match as a fan? A match that you've just found is near and dear to your heart that you find yourself circling back to from time to time? Do you have such a match?
Um, I like to watch old Japanese wrestling. Anything Keiji Muto will catch my eye. I would have to say it as far as like anything that I could watch day in day out. It would probably be. I think there was a match with Muda and Anoki, maybe, and it was just so solid because it was two high level performing professional wrestlers at such a different stage, but then they made it work. Um, and I really like how Kenta and anybody work together. So I could watch Kenta all day.
So, piggybacking on to that question, do you have an all-time favorite promo as a fan?
Probably Hard Times, period. Dusty was
Yeah.
just one of the best talkers ever.
Oh, for sure. So this is one of these questions that can really change. That the answer can really change almost moment to moment, hour to hour, day to day. But at this very moment, in your opinion, who are the best male and best female wrestlers in the world? Who's the best man and who's the best woman?
I would have to put it on. I've become a real fan of El Grande Americano with the work that they've been doing there. But like in and out, I would put Roman Reigns is the most over as his character, but ring work style, I would have to put Seth Rollins up there because he's even though he's been plagued with injuries, he's just so reliable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So did you see the mask versus mask match the other night?
Yeah, it was
That
tremendous.
was unreal. I mean, those
Yeah,
two guys. Wow. I
the
mean, you know, man, Gable and Kaiser are just their chemistry was just so good.
yeah, and the people down there, they love it. It's so good down there, but like they just took it up a notch. Like it crossed brands on that. It's not just Triple A show. It's I mean they're doing the encore I think either tonight or the yeah. It's
Yeah.
such a good match. Everyone needs to go watch it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was um, definitely match of the year, if not, beyond that. I mean,
It's going to be hard to top that one. Period.
oh, for sure. So, and this can be present day or past. Who would be a dream opponent for you? Who is somebody that you have not yet shared a ring with that you would love to have the opportunity?
It was always Muda for me. I almost got to tag with him and something fell through. and it was always just him. How he captured people without having to use language, like any
Yeah.
type of American language, and it's just that speaks volumes. If you can work without words and convey the emotion and draw people in, that was bar none my favorite wrestler of all time.
Yeah. You know, I was a freshman in college when Muta and Sting had their feud in WCW, and man, those two guys, that's another pairing with amazing chemistry. I mean, those two guys played off of each other so well.
Yeah, they didn't have a bad match. Like,
No,
period. There was no like, oh, they got to get warm with each other and get used to each other. It was just like almost instantaneous.
yeah. You know, I mean, he was definitely, definitely a legend and definitely revered. But I almost feel like Sting never entirely got the credit as a worker that he deserved. He could go in the ring, but
Yeah.
more people were focused on the charisma and everything else. But he was a heck of a worker. I mean,
Lumped into the WCW Hogan and like type character, but he was just he went on all cylinders.
oh, for sure, for sure. So, obviously, when you're doing this great sport of professional wrestling, like we were talking about, in-ring chemistry is incredibly important. And if you've got somebody that you've got incredible chemistry with, you know that when you're working that person, magic's going to happen and the match is just going to be a banger. Do you have such a person or persons that if you're working that person, it's just going to be out of this world?
I keep putting him over because he's one of my students, but me and Troy Parker, we've not had to communicate anything. There's a local wrestler he deserves to be up. Uh, he's had some tryouts with WWE too. Casey Huffman, he's another one. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. The crowd interaction is more important than the moves, but the moves make the crowd interaction so much more, and you can't beat that.
Gotcha. Well, that's a perfect segue to the next question, and that is, what is your favorite move? What is something you just really enjoy doing? And on the flip side of that, is there a move that you won't do or you would at least rather not do, and that can be giving or receiving?
Um, my favorite move is my finisher, and it's not my finisher. Taka Michinoku did it, the Michinoku driver. It just, if it's done right, it looks like it's a finish. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the other side of things, and this when I say it, it's just going to be like that's it. Um, a Japanese arm drag. I can't, like, it always hurts. There's no amount of post to it that you can't accommodate, and I always end up on my tailbone or landing too high. Um, yeah, that would be it for me.
Gotcha. You know, growing up, I kind of grew up as a Jake Roberts mark,
Hmm.
and I have hated over the years seeing the DDT get relegated to a mid-match setup move rather
Yeah,
than a finisher. Because when Jake did the DDT, you would think he murdered a man. I
yeah, it's
mean,
done.
but I just, it sort of hurts my heart seeing the DDT just be just part of a match, but not a finisher anymore.
Yeah, it's
I
the
mean,
same
there
thing
are
with
there are still some people that use it as such, but I mean, for the most part, it's just a move now.
yeah, Michinoku drivers now the same way, and they're like, brother just hit that mid match and they kicked out at one. I'm like, well, I do it better. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll see how people remember it.
Yep. So, you mentioned earlier, the next question is, you've been doing this for coming up on 28 years. You've put your body through a lot. So what hurts right now? You already mentioned basically everything hurts.
Uh, the worst right now is my neck. And we don't take into account, like, it's obvious if you get dropped on your head and you break your neck, but just the constant whipping back and forth
Yeah.
and losing the curvature in your neck, that goes with grapplers and jujitsu guys as well.
Oh yeah.
All that resistance, going back, fighting, making sure, and then accommodating someone else's weight. Just on a headlock takeover, you could snap your neck. So,
Oh yeah, and I mean, just the repetitive, constant pounding, it becomes a cumulative thing,
yeah.
and it uh, for a number of years, I actually worked as a paramedic, so I've got a decent understanding of human anatomy and everything, and I and some of the crazy bumps you see people take, I just wince because I know what that's doing,
Oh, yeah.
very intimately what that's doing to their body. So, in the almost 28 years you've been doing this, what is the worst bump you have taken?
Worst bump I probably have taken would be we were doing ever TNA had just introduced the X division, that one Ultimate X, and we
Mm-hmm.
had a local company that figured out that they could rig that the same way. So we were doing one, and AJ and Saban, I think it was one of the first Ultimate X matches. AJ got drop kicked while he was hanging from his knees in the middle of the X, and I said, I can do that bump. And guy went to do the drop kick, and we shouldn't have been copying their script anyway. But he went to do the drop kick and completely whiffed me. So another guy said, "Oh, got you," and he went to do it. He barely hit me enough to rock me, and I was like, "Okay, I can take this bump." And mid bump, I just land straight on the top of my sternum and scorpion, and it was
Mm,
just frightening. And it was from
no
about 15
doubt.
foot out.
Whew, no doubt. So, what is your take on the role that social media is playing as a promotional tool in wrestling, specifically indie wrestling?
Promotionally, I think that it is one of the biggest, like, blessings that we can have, because we can reach all these audiences even before you boost a post. If you do it right and play the algorithm right, you've got pretty much free advertising outside of uh, paying for the actual art to be commissioned. If you do it all your own, then you're working for yourself, so you're not out anything. But the amount of reach that we have, and just even as an independent wrestler, you can get in contact with so many people. And I've been a part of this for as long as I have, to where I remember sending VHS tapes to try to get a booking, and waiting for a month and not hearing from anyone, and never hearing from anyone. Now the worst thing you have is I got left on red. So
Yeah,
it's such a good tool for everyone to be able to go further than anyone ever thought they could on the indies.
absolutely. So, knowing everything you know at this point in your life, if you could give any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Save your bumps. Um, we all grew into the pro wrestling world hearing about the bump card, and saving them for when they matter, like when you're going to be in front of a bigger crowd, or when you're going to go for a tryout. You know what your body can do. You don't have to give it away for free. And I gave a lot away for next to nothing.
Gotcha. So, do you have any pre show traditions? Any things that you try to do consistently before you walk through the curtain?
A lot of stretches, a lot of push ups, isometrics. got band work that I do on just to make sure that my joints are lubricated. But praying for the people that I'm wrestling with, praying for the referees. Um, a lot of times I get pulled into other people's matches and we get to pray over them. But I pray and I thank Jesus just that I'm still able to do what I'm doing at this level at this stage. So that's the biggest part. And then people probably think I am not. Um, they probably think I'm not praying by how excited I get. Um, but I get amped up and I'm ready to go, and then I come through that curtain and just I'm ready to go.
Gotcha. So just kind of give us a quick rundown of your gear bag. What all do you carry in your gear, and do you carry anything unique or unusual in your gear?
Um, because I have weird weapons, I've got my gear, I've got my boots, I've got face paint, I've got brushes, I've got paint markers, and then I have a tire iron, a nice little spike, a pair of scissors, which I use to cut tape, not people. Um, and then and then sometimes I'll just bring a crowbar just because why not?
Gotcha. So, over the years you've been doing this, do you have a favorite venue to wrestle in? Is there a place that you've wrestled that's just special to you?
I would probably put there was the German Center down in Fort Lauderdale. It was just an amazing looking venue. I mean, it was just so many ornate decorations everywhere, deer horns everywhere, and it was just like it felt like okay, this should be I should be wrestling in the 50s and 60s, and this should be one of my goals that I should be checking off my list. Um, other than that, we wrestled in the Bahamas in the Olympic basketball stadium there, and that was by far one of the best places I could ever wrestle. The people there are amazing too.
You know, I had a couple of people on from a while back from All Caribbean Wrestling down there. Mark Henry's got some involvement with them, but the thing that's interesting about the Caribbean is kayfabe is very much alive and well down there. I mean, those there is a lot of belief in the whole show down there, and I found that really interesting. You
When
know.
when we were down there, because of the way I look with my face paint, we had voodoo priests calling in wanting to bless me, and I'm like, I don't think you want that. They're like, well,
Yeah.
why wouldn't we want to come bless you? I was like, because what you have and what I have will not mix well. You'll lose
No.
money.
Absolutely. So, something that we've done in all of these that's just been kind of fun is we've let the current guest ask a question for the next guest. So, my previous guest was a wrestler based in Stockton, California, in the northern part of the state, a guy named Alpha Zoe.
Okay.
And the question that he asked is if you were in a dream ladder match, who would you want to be in it with?
Razor Ramon. Period. Scott Hall was just so good.
Yeah, yeah. That's another one of many that's just gone too soon. You know.
I got to have a little bit of interaction with him, but it wasn't enough. Man, he was just salt of the earth, really good guy to everybody. At least on my end, I didn't have a bad experience with him.
How did that come about?
Well, the first time I met him, I was a fan going to WCW in Charleston, West Virginia. We were a regular part of their loop, and there was a bar across the town that actually was like a sports bar. So when you're 18, you could get in, but you couldn't go in where the wrestlers were. Well, Ric Flair owned part of that bar, so after every show, those guys would come and we would see him going through there. And it just so happened that me and my friend Gavin, we camped out for tickets. Someone said something about these guys are real fans, blah, 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 blah. You want to come meet them? And so we get to go up this staircase to the private room, and you got Arn Anderson, Scott Hall. I want to say the Steiner brothers were there too, but the Horsemen were just there. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I saw Scott Hall, and I was like, huh, he's not as tall as he's booked, but he is a large man.
Yeah.
And he was really accommodating to anyone that was in there. And then later on at conventions, I would see him sporadically and just make a point to say hey and go up and shake his hand. And he would remember, for the most part, even if he was not in the best place in life, he still made it a point to try to figure out how that we had met. So he was a really good guy.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's I've got kind of a funny story. I live in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, and I have pretty much since 1983. So I mean, Atlanta's pretty much home. And I was a teenager, and a new mall had just opened in the county that I live in. And so my dad and I had gone to this mall, and we're walking through the mall, and he wasn't there for an appearance, but all of a sudden, walking down the concourse in the mall is Ric Flair, and
Yeah.
he's in three-piece suit. He's got a woman on each arm. He's wooing,
Yep.
and but he was just there living the gimmick,
Yeah.
and it was just unreal. I mean, we stopped and just kind of watched,
Yeah.
and I don't really know why he was there. I think he was just Rick being Rick. But
I got to wrestle with David while he was on the Independents before he retired, and
hmm
then I was on some shows with Reed and Charlotte, and
hmm
Rick showed up, and I was just like, oh my gosh, Ric Flair's here, and he was just cool, calm, collected. I was like, that's not the guy that I see on TV, but then I got to see him again during a tryout for WWE, and Reed was there again, and Reed said, Dad, this is the dude that wrestled with David. And he's like, oh, came up and most ginger handshake ever. Thank you for taking care of my boy. Have a great time tonight. And if I can help, let me know. And I'm like, it was like, I'm sitting there stunned, and he's just nice as can be. But
yeah,
when Rick is Rick, Rick is.
yeah. But yeah, it's been interesting, doing this show. My focus has pretty much been, the indies, because I love the opportunity to help tell the story of people chasing a dream.
Yeah.
But here and there, I've actually had some air quotes bigger names come on, and one of the nicest people that I've had come on the show was C.W. Anderson.
Yeah.
Just a good dude.
100%.
I mean, we had a great conversation and some great interactions. And another guy that was really surprisingly pleasant was Austin Aries.
Yeah. Yeah. He's flipped the switch.
Yeah.
He's really, really nice now.
Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, when I had the opportunity to have him on the show, I didn't know what was going to happen. I
Yeah.
was kind of prepared for anything, but he was great.
Yeah. I've met him before, and I met him after just recently on one of the shows in North Carolina. And he was like, I know you from somewhere. And we had interaction during Ring Warriors when we were filming out in Vegas. And it
Mhm.
wasn't pleasant. And that, but
Yeah.
even then, he came up. He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. If you want to come to the party afterwards," I said, "Thank you." I said, "Not my scene, but I appreciate it."
Yeah. So, since this is part of a series, do you have a question you would like to ask the next guest?
What is your favorite multi-man match you've ever been in, and why?
I actually really like that question. How would you answer that?
My favorite multi-man match that I've ever seen would probably be Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and AJ Styles.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
bar none. Like full high octane, and they could just go. And you didn't see any lulls for communication. I guarantee it was produced really, really well. But those guys, man, that's when I thought that TNA was like, okay, TNA is going to really be the competitor here. And then, I mean, their ups and downs. I pray that they really do take this to new heights. They've got a really good thing going now.
They do. They do.
Yeah,
Yeah. I feel like they are on the cusp of absolute greatness right now. And I just, like you, I hope that the breaks continue to go their way
yeah,
because they are so loaded with potential right now, and their roster is so strong.
yeah. Completely, just top to bottom. You can't have a bad match on the card.
No, no. So, during his farewell tour, John Cena kept bringing up the concept of leaving wrestling better than he found it. And that really resonated with me. I thought that what a cool thing to strive for. And so I've kind of incorporated that into my repertoire of questions. So, you know, what are you actively doing to try to leave wrestling better than you found it?
I'm kind of on that tail end too. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever retire because everyone that retires comes back for one
Right.
more match. I just
Yep.
won't stop. I won't stop. I will probably just stop showing up, and then people will be like, "Oh, where's he at?" And then I'll pop in, like, "Hey guys, I'm not doing this anymore." Um,
Yeah.
but actively, the school is part of it, and then making the Power Slam Pro, making it a ground to where these guys can learn and um, not just have a good match, but get proper producing, proper like immediate out or input from agents, and just trying to produce it better for them and give them a locally give them a home that they can really take their footage from here, shop it to bigger places, and hopefully land a contract. And that's my goal. And my goal with the whole school was completely. I just want to make sure you're job ready for when you get that interview. And
Absolutely.
yeah,
So, we're pretty much at the end of things now, so I want to give you a couple of minutes to put yourself and anything else that's on your mind over. So, do you have any upcoming shows or anything that you want to give some hype to?
I get to wrestle Jason Kincaid on July 4th, and that matters so much for not just for me but for this area because he's actually retiring, and he's by far one of the best, if not the best, talents that's ever came out of West Virginia. Um, he's retiring due to neck issues, and he actually is letting me be one of the guys to be in his last matches, and it's at one of the bigger shows in our region. So getting to work with him because he came in a little bit behind me, uh, but just getting to kind of like end that chapter with him, that's really cool.
Absolutely. Well, as far as what we've got coming up on the Throwdown, um, this Thursday, June the 4th, it's still blowing my mind that we're in June already. But
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this Thursday, the 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern, we've got episode 235, and our guest is actually a guy who is making his return to the Throwdown. I had him on a while back, had a good conversation, and definitely looking forward to catching up with Florida-based wrestler, The Element, Shane Evans. And then Monday, the 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern, I've got episode 236, and our guest is wrestler, I believe, also based in Florida. Goes by the name of Trinell, but he was in NXT under the name Quincy Elliott for a while. So I'm definitely looking forward to having him on and finding out what makes him tick and hearing his story.
Yeah, it looks like a really good lineup.
Yeah, I'm at this point. I'm actually booked through the rest of June and the first couple of weeks of July. I've been on a rolling 6 weeks out as far as bookings go. So I mean, it's the show's definitely rolling along pretty nicely, and having an absolute blast doing it. But I want to thank you for your time. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, man. This is fun. Like I pray that you just keep blowing up bigger and bigger and keep telling the story of the indies, man. Like
absolutely. I've said this before, but having been a fan of the business for basically 45 years at this point, to finally be a small part of a business that I've loved for that long it's just the coolest thing in the world. I've met some of the coolest people doing this, and it's a great creative outlet. It's something totally different than my shoot job. So I'm just happy as a clam doing this, and I feel that God has really blessed this endeavor, and it's just just some of the circumstances that have happened. You can definitely see God's hand in a lot of stuff. So
yeah.
So anyway, for those of you that have been watching this live, thank you. For those of you that'll be seeing this on replays and such, thank you for that. If you like what we've got going here, definitely do the old like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until Thursday night at 7 with The Element, Shane Evans, be good to each other, love each other, and let's keep throwing down.